Hey, so right now I'm on Alibaba.com. You're likely familiar with the interface, but what you may not be familiar with is how to interpret lab test reports and product certificates, or even statements about compliance on supplier pages on Alibaba.com. So let's say that I want to find, LED light bulb, right? I'll do a supplier search instead. Type in LED light bulb, right? What I will demonstrate now is how you can determine if a supplier have experience manufacturing products in compliance with certain safety standards or requirements and so on, based on documents that they have uploaded, but also statements. So now I have a list. I have 3,380 companies as a result of searching for LED light bulbs. And I will start by taking a look at these two for, well, no particular reason. Haining, Xinguang, and Guangdong, Li Yinled. So let's say I intend to buy these LED lights from a supplier on Alibaba, or perhaps I'm planning to develop a new custom design product. Well, I want to assess if they have experience manufacturing products in compliance with the regulations, with the safety requirements in my country or in my market. So let's say that I plan to sell in the EU. Well, I'd be interested in what they have here, right? So they are claiming that they have EMC, ROHS, CE, GS, UL, etc., etc. If I scroll down here under product certification, well, I can find compliance documents such as this certificate. I can find lab test reports, another certificate, a UL certificate of compliance. Well, what this is telling me is not that every single product made by this company is by default always and exclusively, without exceptions, designed for compliance with the regulations and other requirements in the country or market where I plan to sell. So what this is really telling me, okay, is that, all right, this supplier has at some point made a product that is compliant with the EMC directive. That's a regulation in the EU, well, a directive in the EU. They have at some point made a product, in this case, T8 LED tube, uh, that is compliant with ROHS, which restricts heavy metals in electronic components. They have experience making at least an ED lamp according to certain UL standards. Okay, so these documents, they don't certify the supplier as a whole necessarily, or their entire production line. They are telling me that, okay, here we have a set of documents that indicate that they have experience manufacturing compliant products. Okay, now that's something that is incredibly valuable when you're out there, you're sourcing suppliers. Let's say that it would be the opposite. You find a supplier and they have no uploaded compliance documents, no uploaded test reports, product certificates. Well, chances are that then dealing with a supplier that has limited to no experience, not necessarily, but that could be an indication of a supplier with limited to no expertise when it comes to making products in compliance with certain regulations. Okay, so it's certainly valuable. These documents that gives me a strong hint that they have experience, but still, you have to start with compliance at the drawing board. Okay, technical uh, drawings need to be designed for compliance, the bill of materials, all of that stuff, wiring diagrams, etc. You have to create label files. You have to arrange lab testing certificates and so on. Okay. So it's not a shortcut in that sense, but it's a very important indication that we have right here. Um, Another thing that I recommend is that you also read through the introductions, the basic information of the here in the company profile. It's fairly common that they mention certain standards or regulations that they have been manufacturing products in compliance with in the past. Some I can say that it's very rare to find a supplier with this many compliance documents. It's well, extremely rare, but very rare at least. So you can't always rely on this overview. Sometimes you have to you have to do a bit more well detective work and read through the company profile text. You can also go to the home page. I haven't actually reviewed this supplier before I started recording this, but well, as you can see here, it's also fairly common that suppliers show certain compliance documents on the home page. So if you can't find anything on a profile page, then check out the home page. Right. Well, luckily for me, well, for you as well, this supplier looks quite sophisticated. So it's a pretty good case study. But I have to say, this is not what you can expect in every industry. When it comes to electronics, it tends to be more sophisticated, right? Yeah, as you can see here, they do mention that they have manufactured products in compliance with certain regulations, labeling requirements, and so on. It's not a guarantee, okay? And it absolutely doesn't mean that you can be entirely hands off and assume that you will receive a product that is designed and labeled correctly out of the box. That could be a very costly mistake, even if you're dealing with a sophisticated supplier, as we're looking at right now. Well, another thing that you can do is to also take a closer look at the product page. So it's fairly common that suppliers say list certain regulation standards and so on a product page. Let's see if we can find something. Yes, of course we can. Right? Okay. Yeah. So many contact points. That said, if you can find it on the profile page, you don't necessarily have to go any deeper than that, because end of the day, it's, as I said, it's really about you make this initial assessment, and ultimately, regardless of whether you're buying a custom design or a private label product, well, you still need to be working hands on with the compliance process, which means, as I just mentioned, that you need to create certificates, you need to arrange lab testing, because as you should know, you can't take, say, right, let's say this lab test report that's from when 2017, valid for it's not T8, it's TB lead tube, okay, and say that, oh, this SGS test report from 2017 applies to everything they make, including my custom design and private label products. That's not the way it is. And even if it was the case, well, you can't just have, like, these documents are not everything you need. You will need to issue a declaration of conformity. You need labeling with your company and so on, okay? So you need to understand this from the ground up. You can't just, oh, we got a compliant supplier. Let's just go and buy whatever they sell. And if you ever get a request from a market surveillance authority, um, say in the EU or the US, then, well, if you submit this to them, they would absolutely reject that, because it's not really about just sending whatever test report you can find and hope that something sticks. I could go on. I could go on and on for hours about this, but I think it's about time to wrap up. Now, in any case, the point here is that you can find information about test reports. You can find uploaded test reports, uploaded certificates. It gives me a very good indication about their qualifications, about their expertise, but you still have to work hands on with the compliance process, and you can't use existing test reports and apply them to another product model, to another SKU, or something like that. Sometimes you can't even apply a an say well, in this case, a test report from last year and say that it applies to a future production run. Okay, so it really depends on the product and where you sell it.